Well, hello everybody. It's been a while, I know, and I apologize for how long it's been since I put out a video, but winter has not been kind to me. I kind of shut down for about 2 or 3 months and really didn't do much of anything, so I'm trying to get caught up. I have a series, a 4-part series for you for this one particular project, and what I would like to do is I would like to continue working on this spiral knot design that we used in these prior tutorials. You can see them in my playlist if you haven't seen them yet, but I'm basically going to use the same spiral knot break pattern that I used in these, and this is the same break pattern in all 3 of them, just stylized differently. I'm basically going to use that same design pattern to create a round spiral knot border. Okay, so today is going to be, it's going to be a 4-part series. Today is going to be part 1. In this part 1, we are just going to lay out our circles, and we're going to break them down into sections so that we have the proper amount of sections to work with to start creating our breaks and some other stuff. All right, so this is just going to be part 1. It's going to be much easier to do this with grid paper, but you don't have to. You can use plain paper if you like, and I'll point out different things to you as we go. All right, now the first thing you're going to do is going to be really useful to have a compass. If you don't have a compass, 2 pencils with a piece of string that you can adjust will work as well, and you need a straight edge. Doesn't necessarily have to be a ruler, just something that's straight. All right, let's get started. We're going to find a point, and we're going to draw a circle. Now, I'm going to say this in the beginning so I don't have to keep repeating it over and over again. What you're seeing me draw is all going to be stuff that is probably going to be erased. So when you do it lightly, dark enough that you can see it as you're working, but light enough that you can erase it and get rid of it when you don't need it anymore. All right, so we're going to start. We have 1 circle. Now I want to draw 3 more circles, equally spaced outside of that, starting from the same center point. This is why I say grid paper is grid paper works much better with this particular technique. All right, let's step it out. And then 1 more. And the idea is when we are done here, we want 3 concentric circles that are equidistant apart. Let me just check my notes real quick. 1, 2, and 3. Yep, okay. Now, mark the center. It's going to be kind of important, so mark the center. And we're going to divide the circle in half. What I would like to end up with for my final design is 64 equal spaces. So we're going to divide this circle up into 64 equal sections. We're going to start by dividing it in half. If you do not have grid paper, you're going to take your straight edge, you're going to line it up with your center point, and then you can divide it in half. You don't have to go all the way through. The important bit is on the circle. All right, so hopefully you can see that. Then we're going to divide it in half again, the opposite way. Now, if you don't have grid paper, there's an easy way to figure out where the midpoint is on the other side of the circle, and we're going to do that in the next step. So pay attention in the next step, and you will see how you can divide your circle up into sections. But for now, I got myself in quarters. I'm going to use a darker pencil so you can see that on camera. Not sure how well you can see that. Let me just use something a little bit darker. You're not going to use something darker. These are just guidelines. All right. Oh, sorry if I sniffed in the camera. It's springtime and I have allergies. All right. So we have our circle divided up into 4 equal parts. So we got a good start. So the next part of this is going to be repetitive. It's just going to be repeating the same process over and over and over again until we get down to 64. All right. We need to divide this quadrant in half so that we end up with 8 equal parts around the circle. Okay? Now, you can get mathematical. If you have one of these protractors, you can certainly line up the protractor with your center dot. Make sure everything is lined up with your lines that you've drawn, the half lines that you've drawn. And then you can do a little bit of math to figure out where your sections are. And then you can, just make tick marks where they are and then draw them out. That's probably, well, depending on whether you have one of these, might be an easier way, it would be a less messy way to do this. But let's say you don't have one of those, okay? That's what we're doing today. All right, so in order to find, in order to divide this in half, you have to find out where the halfway mark is with this arc. All right, so we're going to work with the outside arc. You can work with the inside arc. It doesn't really matter, but let's do the outside arc. I think that's a little easier. So I do have a tutorial somewhere on my playlist, I think, for finding the center of an arc. It's in my Celtic art playlist. So just take a look there and see if you can find that. But I'm going to be doing those steps over and over and over again today. So this quadrant, in order to find the center of this quadrant, we need to open your compass to something that's a little bit more than halfway, where you would guesstimate the halfway point would be. So like I'm guesstimating it's somewhere in this section, so we want to open up our compass a little bit more than that. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you can draw an arc, and I'm off the page with this, so I'm just drawing an arc. Now you're going to go to the other side. You're drawing an arc above and below. Now take your point and go to the other side of the arc of this segment of the circle and put your compass point there. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to draw an arc above and cross the one that you already made. Okay? And you're going to go below and you're going to cross the one that you made below. So now you should have 2 sets of arcs, 2 above your circle quadrant and 2 below. Take your straight edge, where they intersect, here and here, and then line them up with the center as well. These automatically line up with the center, it looks like, but that's okay. All right, so we have the center of the circle, we have where they crossed here, and then we have where they crossed there. And then we're just going to mark that. And that divides this part of the circle in half. Now we can, so we don't have to do this all the way around the circle. We will line up the line we just made with the center of the circle, and the other side of the circle should be, double check to make sure that this and this is even, that this and this is even. They seem to be even, and we're good. All right, now all we have to do is this one so that we can do these two, and then we'll be good. So let's do the same thing on the other side. Put your compass point on one end of your circle quadrant. Make an arc above. The arc below, if you look at it, seems to follow the one we just did. And there's kind of a reason for that, because it's actually part of a circle. If you draw it all the way through, this is what we did for this quadrant over here, right? So because this is too big, this is going off the page, I can't show you, but I'll show you what this is when we get a little bit smaller. All right, now we're going to make an arc above to cross and an arc below to cross. Line up where the 2 arcs cross above, where the 2 arcs cross below, and the center point. And mark it. And then mark it on the other side as well, because we know that they should line up. Take a look at them. They seem equal. Everything looks equal. All right, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to erase these arcs. We're going to do this again. We're going to repeat this process over and over and over again. So if you didn't get that the first time, don't worry about it. You'll get it. And because we're getting smaller, it'll be easier for me to show you how to visualize it. But first, let me get rid of some of these stray marks, because this is going to get confusing. And I would really suggest when you're doing this to kind of erase these marks as you go, because otherwise, in the end, you are going to have a zillion of these marks, and it's going to be a sloppy mess, and it might get hard for you to see what you're doing after a bit. So you might want to erase as you go. Sorry about that. All right, now we have our circle. It is divided into 8 equal parts. We need 64, so we got to keep going. We got to take this section and divide it in half. Okay? And we're going to do the same process that we just did. All right, so we are going to, we have 8 equal sections. We need to now divide it down into 16. So we're going to take one of these quadrants. We're going to open our compass to something a little bit more than half the distance between this point and this point. So this is roughly half in here. We're going to open our compass something like that. All right, so let's get this to let's open them a little bit more so we have a little more. Okay, so let's start here. I got a little more paper, space on my paper to show you. All right, so we're going to put the point there, and we're going to do the same thing we just did. Well, this time I'm going to draw it all the way through because I just want to sort of show you something. I'm going to try not to draw over my grid lines though. My concentric circle lines. So you're essentially, when I said make arcs above and below, those arcs are actually a portion of a circle. Okay, so if you take your compass point now and you put it on the other side, and you draw your arc. So basically this was the part I had drawn. I'd drawn a portion of a circle above and a portion of a circle below before. Now I'm just showing you that those portions of circles are actually, or those arcs were just portions of circles. Okay? And that's essentially what you're going to do all the way around. It's not necessary to draw the whole circle to do this. So that's why I'm drawing. And there's going to be points where things are off the page, but that's okay because I know where I'm at. And now just a quick, well, I'll get to that point. I don't want to jump too far ahead of myself because I don't want to confuse you, but if you just go to each point around the circle, around your concentric circles, and just do this repetitive thing all the way around, you will see that essentially these are overlapping circles all the way around. It gets easier to see as it gets smaller. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pick a point here. The arcs cross here and they cross here. So I'm going to line up this point, the midsection, and then to make things easy for myself, I'm just going to line them up going across the circle as well, so I can do the whole thing all at once. Hopefully that's how it works out. Might have to finagle a little bit to get everything to line up, because this isn't totally precise. I wouldn't say this is completely precise, but there we go. So we got the beginnings. These are 16 beginnings of our 16 sections, right? Hopefully this is making sense to you. Line up this point, the midsection, and then the points on the other side. Okay, so we have equal sections here and here. Now we just need to do the other sides. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to erase these circles that I have here to prep for the next set of sections. Okay, so I got everything cleaned up, everything's erased. We now have a circular border that is divided into 16 equal parts. We need 64, so we need to divide it 2 more times. So we need to do that whole process 2 more times all the way around the circle. All right, so let's do this part maybe a little slower. I got smaller circles, so it'll be easier for you to see what's going on. All right, so we're going to start here, this part of the circle, and we're going to open our compass up to something a little more than half the distance between here and here, right? So you can either draw yourself a long arc like that above and below, and unfortunately with this one we are going to have to go through your concentric circles. It is what it is, right? You can either draw arcs or you can draw the entire circle. The important bit is you have enough of an arc that when you do the other side, those arcs will cross. Remember, these circles are overlapping. Yeah? All right, so they need to overlap. There. All right, so we're just going to go around the circle and we're going to do that. And this seems like it's really elaborate, but it's really highly repetitive, so once you get the hang of it, it goes super fast. And you can just whip your way around this circle, and in no time you'll have your circle divided up the way you need it to be. So again, if you wanted to, you could just create arcs instead of your circle, but in this situation, I'm just going to make circles all the way around, roughly. All right. Let's see. And I'm going off the page a little bit, but that's okay. The bits that go off the page aren't the bits I need, so that's a good thing. But that is something you're going to want to take into consideration, because the size of your design and the size of your page could affect how big of a circle or an arc you need to be making, right? So you see, this is just, and I could like go super fast if I wanted to all the way around. I just kind of want to take my time with this and make sure that it is kind of the way I want it to be. All right. So I don't know how everybody's holidays and all went. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday season. Winter's over now officially. Thank God, because I do not work well in the wintertime, which is why I haven't really been putting much in the way of videos out. Because it's not that I didn't have ideas for videos, it just wasn't in the right state of mind. But it's time to get back on horse, as they say, and get this stuff done, right? I have a backlog of ideas and backlog of projects to do. There's going to be a huge amount of material coming for you in the next couple of months. So, all right, now we have around our border, we now have a series of circles that all overlap where the midpoints will be. So if you take a look at this, and I know this is kind of diving into a little bit of sacred geometry, but this here, this shape is a Vesica Pisces shape, which is something I'll be dealing with in a later video. I'll be talking about a little bit more in depth about sacred geometry. But for now, that's kind of an interesting thing to me. I don't know why I'm fascinated by that. But anyway, for now, let's line up these, where these circles intersect, where that Vesica Pisces is. Line it up with the center of the circle, and with any luck, the other side will be roughly lined up. And if it doesn't line up immediately, just kind of finagle it. And all right. Okay, so they should be equal. Double check them, so if you make any mistakes, you can kind of fix it at this point. And we're just going to do that around, all the way around. So we're going to take the next 2 points, the midpoint of your circle, and they line up here. So we're good there. Let's draw that line. Let's draw that line. Everything looks good. Let's work our way around the circle. Sorry if you hear alarms going off in the background. I have people in my house who don't know how to get up to their alarms. I don't know how they can sleep through them, but I don't know if that's being picked up on video. Hopefully it's not, but if it is, I apologize. You have no idea what I've gone through to do this video this morning. I have a house full of people, and it's almost never quiet in this house, which is another reason why I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately. All right, come on, let's line up. Okay. And again, you're doing the same thing all the way around the circle, and you're just making sure that when you draw the lines that your sections are equal. That will have an effect on what you do later on. So just make sure they're equal. This isn't a 100% exact method. Again, if you really want it to be totally exact, you would use a mathematical method using a protractor. But all right. How many? We got one more section left. One more section left. And we're going to draw this line and this one. And we are up to, we should be up to 32 equal parts. So if we wanted to, let's put our finger here and we'll start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 4 sections is 32. So we are good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera off for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to go and erase all these circles before we move on and divide this down one more time to get 64 parts. Okay, so I will be right back. Okay, we are back. I had to do a lot of cleaning up, but we now have 32 equal parts on our border. So the process we just did, we need to do one more time. We need to take each one of these sections and break them down by half to get 64 equal parts all the way around. So we're just going to do the same pattern. All the way around. For each section on the grid. Gets a little crazy. So this isn't maybe the neatest technique, but it's definitely one of the more fun techniques. And again, like, you can fly through this quickly. I'm going through it slowly because I'm trying to make sure that it looks neat, but you can fly through this really quickly because it's just repetitive. You're doing the same thing as you see over and over and over again. So it's and you can draw the full circle if you like, or you can just draw long arcs. Just make sure those arcs are long enough that you're going to have areas that cross over. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and kind of finagle. So at the end of this video, my goal is to have essentially a circular grid. We've been working mostly so far in my videos. I think I've done maybe one or two other videos with circular grids, but we've been working mostly with straight grids. And I have had a couple of requests for circular borders. So I decided, why not go ahead and use the pattern that I used in my previous couple of videos. Use that same spiral pattern in a circular grid. And that way you can see maybe get an idea of how to use different types of patterns in different ways. So the spiral knot design that I'm using, again, is the same one that I used in previous video, and it's only one style of spiral knot. This is only one. You can use all different, there's so many different styles of spiral knots, and I'll be doing probably more and more of them as we go forward. I just, for consistency purposes and for ease of these tutorials, I just decided we were going to use that particular pattern again, since I already had it worked out in a straight grid. It made it easier for me to figure out how to work it out for a circular grid. And I did have to finagle a little bit. I had to kind of play around and with spacing. Basically, I mean, the break pattern is the same. I just had to play around with the spacing to get to 64. Well, I knew that I needed 64 equal parts because it just it was what I needed to make the design work. But different designs are going to require you to break your border down in different ways. You may need to break them down into even smaller sections. In that situation, I would really suggest you invest in a good protractor and do it mathematically. It would be less messy and more accurate. Because when you're dealing with very small measurements, you need to be very accurate. So if you're doing very small sections, get one of these protractors. It will help you out. And I might do a section. I might do like a tutorial using a protractor, which I probably should. I've been kind of doing these tutorials where I'm just using a compass, just to kind of show you that you don't need to have supplies with measurements. But it's very, very useful to have different kinds of tools for different kinds of things, right? As you can kind of see, if I were to break this down even more, this would be just so many circles, and it gets more and more difficult as these compasses get smaller. You know, it gets more difficult to draw the circles. So it would be, yeah, much easier to all right. But yeah, I will probably do a tutorial in the future using using protractor, show you just kind of how to use one, because with these circular borders, protractors can come in very useful. All right, we're almost done with the circles. And you just see what I'm doing. All the circles overlap. Whoops, that was really messy. I lifted the thing off the page before I should have, but okay. I'll go ahead and fix that real quick. All right. So anyway, we have a bunch of circles, overlapping circles that are going to mark out the center point of each section. Is going to bring us to 32. And if we do this right, then we can line up this section, this point, the point in the center, and then across the circle to the opposite side. Okay, so let's see how we did. All right, line up this and the center. And it lines up on the other side. Yep. All right. So I think we did good. Okay. They're roughly equal. They're a little off, I think. At least by my eye, anyway. And it could be just the width of the pencil. Again, when you're using small measurements, every tiny little thing affects them. The smaller your measurements, the more accurate you need to be. I'm just going to say that. I work in miniatures. I do miniature fairy houses. And you would think if it's smaller, it's easier, but it's not. It's actually more complicated. You need to be more precise. Because the smallest bit that you're off affects everything, and it's very obvious. But it looks like we're doing good here. We did good here with the compass. Everything looks like it's lining up pretty good, which is a good thing. So I'm going to be finishing off this section, this video, and the next video we will be laying out we have it divided into sections now. The next video we will be basically putting in the breaks and the grids, making it look like a grid with the dots and the break lines. We'll be putting that in. That's part 2. Then in part 3, we will be roughing in our design. And then part 4 will be less of a tutorial, I think, and more of a just a sort of drawing, watch me draw kind of a video. It'll be, I'll be giving the design a little bit of my own flair and maybe using some drawing techniques to kind of bring it to life. All right, but anyway, all right, let's see, and you can kind of see this can get to be a bit of a mess. The thing is, it seems like, you know, this is a lot of work to do to set this up, but I have learned, whoops, go through the center, girlfriend. Lining the wrong thing up. Too busy talking. Okay. Where was I going? I forget now. I forget where I was going with that thought. All right. Well, I guess it wasn't that important, was it? All right. So while I'm finishing this off, I need to make sure that I let you guys know that I do have a Patreon account. There's not a lot on it. It is brand new. I'm trying to build it up. If you have any ideas about the kind of stuff that you'd like to see on there, let me know. The idea is that the things that I do there are like more in depth than what I'm doing here. That I do a little bit more, delve a little bit more into the historical aspects of some of this stuff, maybe. Give you a little more information about that kind of thing. Maybe, you know, a little bit more personal kind of stuff, you know, a little more drawing, you know, artistic kind of stuff. And that's kind of the idea for it. You can join for free. I do have the option for you to follow me for free. But if you'd like to support what I do, it's $4 a month. And you can help me build a community. That might be fun, right? And so don't forget to check that out. And also check out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to anybody that you think might enjoy this kind of thing. Okay, so I think we're at the end of this. So there will be an accompanying blog to this as well. So I will try and make sure that link goes in the description. Basically, we're done this part of the tutorial. The only thing left is just to erase these circles. Okay, and that'll be part 1 of the next tutorial. Anything else I need to tell you? No, just stay tuned for part 2. In part 2, I'm gonna show you how I laid out the grid, so I can begin to so that I have a guideline for where my spiral knot pattern goes. Okay, so that'll be part 2, and that's coming up next. All right, so for now, happy drawing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, check out my Patreon, and don't forget to check out the blog that goes with this. Okay? All right, happy drawing. Thank you. Bye-bye.